Hello and welcome to another session on Indian writing in English. We will continue with Act 1, Nagamandala. We will continue with Act 1. We stopped with Rani hallucinating over Rani hallucinating about her or fantasizing and dreaming about her parents. Now she's alone, she's perplexed and she doesn't know what is happening. Aparna just locks her inside her house and he leaves and he goes to the concubine or the prostitute, and poor Rani is left all alone. Now at this time we find another subplot of Nagamandala where Kappanna and Kurdava is seen. So Rani sits staring blankly into the oven, then begins to sob. Outside in the street, Kappanna enters carrying Kurdava on his shoulders. She is blind. He is in his early 20s. Kappanna: Mother, you can't do this. You can't start meddling in other people's affairs the first thing in the morning. That Aparna should have been born a wild beast or a reptile. By some mistake, he got human birth. He can't stand other people. Why do you want to tangle with him? Kurdava: Whatever he is the son of my best friend. His mother and I were like sisters. Poor thing, she died bringing him into this world. Now a new daughter-in-law comes to her house. How can I go on as though nothing has happened? Besides, I haven't slept a wink since you told me you saw Aparna in his concubine's courtyard. He has got himself a bride, and he still goes after that harlot. Kappanna: I knew I shouldn't have told you. Now you have insomnia and I have a backache. Kurdava: Who asked you to carry me around like this? I haven't, have I? I was born and brought up here. I can find my way round. Kappanna: Do you know what I ask for when I pray to Lord Hanuman of the gymnasium every morning? For more strength, not to wrestle, not to fight, only so I can carry you around. Kurdava: She's pleased. I know. Suddenly, Kappanna freezes. What is it? Why have you stopped? He doesn't answer, merely stands immobile and stares. A touch of panic in Kurdava's voice. What is it, Kappanna? Kappanna! Kappanna: Nothing, mother. It's just that I can see Aparna's front door from here. Kurdava, relieved. Oh, for a moment I was worried. It was that, who is that again? That witch or fairy? Whatever she is, who you say follows you around? So see, another plot is also introduced here. But Karnad doesn't go to say much about it. Even at the end of this play, when we look at the play, when it ends, you will understand that there's a lot of things incomplete, not spoken by Karnad, and has left it to the audience, especially about Kurdava and a witch or a fairy or a woman who troubles Kurdava. Kappanna: Mother, she is not a witch or a fairy. When I try to explain, you won't even listen. And then, when I am not even thinking of her, you start suspecting all kinds of. Kurdava: Hush, enough of her now. Tell me, why we have stopped. Kappanna: There doesn't seem to be anyone in Aparna's house. There is a lock on the front door. Kurdava: How is that possible? Even if he is lying in his concubine's house, his bride should be home. Kappanna. Who can tell about Kappanna? Who can tell about Appanna? He's a lunatic. Kurudava. You don't think he could have sent his wife back to her parents already, do you? Come, let us look in through the window and check. Kappanna. Of course not, mother. If someone sees you, Kurudava, listen to me. Go up to the house and peep in. Tell me what you see. Kappanna. I refuse. Kurudava, tearful. I wouldn't have asked you if I had eyes. I don't know why God has been cruel to me, why He gave me no sight. Kappanna, yielding. All right, mother. They go near the house. Kappanna peers through the window. Kappanna. The house is empty. Kurudava. Of course it is, silly. How can anyone be inside when there is a lock outside on the door? Tell me, can you see clothes drying inside? What kind of clothes? Any saris, skirts? Or is it only men's clothing? Kappanna. I can't see a thing. Rani. Who is it? Who is that outside? Kappanna. Oh my God. Lifts Kurudava and starts running. Kurudava. Stop, stop, I tell you. Why are you running as though you have seen a ghost? Kappanna. There is someone inside the house, a woman. Kurudava. You don't have to tell me that. So what if there is a woman inside the house? We have come here precisely because a woman is supposed to be in the house. Kappanna. Mother, what does it mean when a man locks his wife in? That's a big question. Kurudava. You tell me. Kappanna. It means he does not want anyone to talk to his wife. Kappanna. The left corner. Rani comes to the window. Who is it? Kappanna. Let's go. Starts running again. Kurudava hits him on the back. Kurudava. Stop, stop. To Rani. I'm coming, child. Right now. Don't go away. To Kappanna. He keeps his wife locked up like a caged bird. I must talk to her. Let me down instantly. He lets her down. You go home if you like. Kappanna. I'll wait for you here under the tree. Come back soon. Don't just sit there gossiping. Kurudava, approaching Rani. Dear girl. Rani. Who are you? Kurudava. Don't be afraid. I am called Kurudava because I am blind. Your mother-in-law and I were like sisters. I helped when your husband was born. Don't be afraid. Appanna is like a son to me. Is he not in? Rani. No. Kurudava. What is your name? Rani. They call me Rani. Kurudava. And where is Appanna? Rani. I don't know. Kurudava. When did he go out? Rani. After lunch yesterday. Kurudava. When will he come back? Rani. He will be back for lunch later in the day. Kurudava. You don't mean he's home only once a day and that too only for lunch? There's no reply from Rani. And you are alone in the house all day? Rani begins to sob. Don't cry, child. Don't cry. I haven't come here to make you cry. Does he lock you up every day like this? Rani. Yes, since the day I came here. Kurudava. Does he beat you or ill-treat you? Rani. No. Kurudava. There's a pause. Does he talk to you? Rani. Oh, that he does, but not a syllable more than required. Do this, do that, serve the food. Kurudava. You mean that means you are still Has he? So you know what she's trying to ask. Rani, apart from him, you are the first person I have seen since coming here. I am bored to death. There is no one to talk to. Kurudava, that's not what I meant by talk. Has your husband touched you? How can I put it? She's exasperated. Didn't anyone explain to you before your wedding? Your mother or an aunt? Rani, mother started shedding tears the day I matured and was still crying when I left with my husband. Poor her, she's probably crying even now. Starts sobbing. So see how young Rani is. Kurudava, dear girl, it's no use crying. Don't cry. Don't. Come here. Come to the window. Let me touch you. My eyes are all in my fingers. She feels Rani's face, shoulder, neck through the bars of the window. How beautiful you are. Ears like hibiscus, skin like young mango leaves, lips like rolls of silk. How can that Appanna gallivant around, leaving such loveliness wasting away at home? Rani, I am so frightened at night, I can't sleep a wink. At home, I sleep between father and mother, but here alone. Kurudava, can you help me, please? Will you please send word to my parents that I am like this here? Will you ask them to free me and take me home? I would jump into a well, if only I could. Kurudava, Chichi, you shouldn't say such things. I'll take care of everything. Calls out, Son, son. Kappanna from behind the tree, yes? Kurudava, come here. Kappanna, no, I won't. Kurudava, come here, you idiot. Kappanna, I absolutely refuse, mother. I told you right at the start that I won't. Kurudava, honestly? And then she comes to him. Listen, son, run home now. Go into the cattle shed, the left corner. Kappanna, the left corner. Kurudava, he's repeating everything that Kurudava is saying. Kurudava, just above where you keep the plough, behind the pillar on the shelf. Kappanna, behind the pillar on the shelf. Kurudava, there is an old tin trunk. Take it down. It's full of odds and ends, but take out the bundle of cloth, untie it. Inside there is a wooden box. Kappanna, a wooden box, all right. Kurudava, in the right hand side of the wooden box is a coconut shell wrapped in a piece of paper. Inside are 2 pieces of a root. Bring them. Kappanna, now? Kurudava, now, at once, before Appanna returns home. Kappanna, mother, listen to me. If he finds you here. Kurudava, don't waste time now. Do as I say. Run. Gets up and comes back to the house. Kappanna leaves. Are you still there? Rani, yes. Who is that? Kurudava, my son Kappanna. Oh, don't let his name mislead you. He isn't really dark. In fact, when he was born, my husband said, such a fair child, let's call him the fair one. I said, I don't know what fair means. My blind eyes know only the dark. So let's call him little parrot of my eyes, the dark one. And he became Kappanna. So again, I want you to bear this in mind, the dark one. Because Kurudava is blind. Again, Kurudava's blindness can be literal as well as metaphorical. And I also want you to bear this dark one kind of thing, the name that has been given to Kappanna. Because we shall be discussing it later. Rani, and where have you sent him? Kurudava, I'll tell you. I was born blind. No one would marry me. My father wore himself out, trudging from village to village, looking for a husband, but to no avail. One day, a mendicant came to our house. No one was home. I was alone. I looked after him in every way, cooked hot food especially for him, and served him to his heart's content. He was pleased with me and gave me 3 pieces of a root. Any man who eats one of these will marry you, he said. Rani, and then? Kurdava, feed him the smallest piece first, he said. If that gives you no result, then try the middle-sized one. Only if both fail, feed him the largest piece. Rani, she's entranced. And then? Kurdava, one day a boy distantly related to me came to our village and stayed with us. That day I ground one of the pieces into paste, mixed it in with the food and served him. Can you guess which piece I chose? Rani, working it out. Which one now? The smallest one, as the mendicant said? No, surely the biggest piece. Kurdava, no, I was in such a hurry, I barely noticed the small one. The biggest scared me, so I used the middle-sized root. Rani, and then? Kurdava, he finished his meal. He gave me one look and fell in love, married me within the next 2 days, never went back to his village. It took the plague to detach him from me. Rani laughs, Kappanna entering. Mother. Kurdava, ha, there he is. Wait. Goes to him. Have you brought them? Kappanna gives her the 2 pieces of root. Kurdava hurries back to Rani. Are you still there? Rani, yes I am. Kurdava, here. Rani, what is that? Kurdava, the root I was telling you about. Rani starts. She's startled. Here, take this smaller piece. That should do for the pretty jasmine like you. Take it, grind it into nice paste and feed it to your husband and watch the result. Once he smells you, he won't go sniffing after that pitch. He will make you a wife instantly. Now we'll stop there and let's do a critical analysis. So the scene shifts. Now I'm going to take prologue also. I'm going to bring prologue also because it has a lot to do with the theme of the play. So I'll be using the prologue, the part from the prologue as well to explain, and also the part from where we stop, Kurdava giving the roots and the problem with Rani and Appanna and all that to make you understand the theme of the play, the general theme of the play. So the scene shifts to the street and we see Kappanna and who's a 20-year-old youth, and he is carrying his mother Kurdava. She's a blind one and she's blind by birth, and she's also haggard. And Kurdava is Kappanna's mother. She's a friend of Appanna's mother, so Kappanna has taken Kurdava to Appanna's house so that she could meet her late friend's daughter-in-law, which is Rani. So Appanna's mother and Kurdava, they were like sisters, and therefore to Kurdava, Appanna is like her son. So when Kappanna told Kurdava that he saw Appanna in the courtyard of a prostitute, a concubine, Kurdava is really worried. And she starts asking, why does he have to go after a prostitute when he already has a beautiful wife, when he has already married a bride? So she's disturbed, she cannot sleep, and that's why Kapanna says, you have insomnia. Now you are not able to sleep because you have various tensions, and I have back pain. And Kurdava starts, so I have not asked you to carry me all around. I was born here, and therefore I was born blind, and therefore I know every nook and corner of this place, my town or my village. And who asked you to carry me? So from this we understand that Kapanna is a very devoted son who prays to Lord Hanuman, and he at his gymnasium, and every morning, and to give him strength to carry Kurdava all around. So we understand that Kapanna is a very devoted, very loving and devoted son of Kurdava, not like Appanna. Appanna never knew his mother's love because she died giving birth to Appanna. So when they arrive, at first they think that the house is empty, and because they find a lock on the door, and therefore they find that the house is empty. And Kurdava asks her son to peep in through the window. He sees at first when he peeps, he at first and all he refuses, and then he, much out of his mother's annoyance, and when she kept on asking him to peep in, and she becomes very emotional, Kapanna agrees to peep through the window, and he finds a woman inside the window, and he's startled, or he's scared, and he's shocked, and he thinks that it is a ghost. And then he realizes that it is not a ghost, but rather it is the bride of Appanna, and Appanna has locked her in the house. So Kurdava goes near her, and he introduces herself to Rani. So Kurdava then comes to know of Rani's problems and the condition of Rani from Rani's speech. So she told her that Rani tells her that Appanna only comes for lunch and has no interest in her, and he talks to her only few things: do this, do that, or serve food, and nothing more than that. And Kurdava in fact wants to know whether they have consummated their marriage, and when she understands that they haven't, and that Rani is still a virgin, Kurdava feels really sad and angry as well. So she feels Rani's face and shoulder and neck through the bars of the window, and she exclaims that Rani is very beautiful, and just like her ears are compared to that of a hibiscus. So Karnad has gone to the great extent of describing Rani most beautifully. So her ears are compared to hibiscus, skin to mango leaves, lips to the rolls of silk, and Rani tells that she is frightened at night, and also requests Kurdava to send word to her parents to come and fetch her and take her back to her house. And she doesn't want to be here. She wants she wants to go back to her house, and she finds this a prison or a hell. And Kurdava promises her help. She then sends Kapanna home to fetch a bit of magic root which an old mendicant had given her years ago. Now I want you to bear this also in mind, the mendicant, because mendicant again comes here a second time. It could be any mendicant. It need not be the mendicant that we spoke of in prologue. It could be any mendicant. So anyway, the mendicant comes back, reappears in this section of Kurdava's story. So this old mendicant had given her a magic or a root, 3 pieces of a root, and it is now safely, or it is now kept in the cattle shed in an old tin trunk, very secure and safe. Now it is placed in a coconut shell in a wooden box in the old tin trunk, and Kappanna rushes to fetch the magic roots. Kurdava's eyes see her son as dark, so she calls her Kappanna, and she tells Rani, please don't mistake him, because she has named him so. He is actually fair, but they decided to name him Kappanna, the dark one, because Kurdava knew only darkness. So anyway, I want you to come back to this. Kurdava is blind, okay, and a mendicant has given her 3 pieces of a root. Now, and because she is blind, we can understand her situation, especially when it comes to marriage. She does not get anyone to marry her. Her father went from village to village, but it was of no avail. Nobody would want to marry a blind woman. And now one fine day, a mendicant appears in front of their house, and she looks after this mendicant in every way. She serves him food and treats him well and honors him, and he's pleased. He's happy, and he gives her as a gift, as a blessing, 3 pieces of root. Again, a mendicant. Who's a mendicant? Mendicant is a sage who has a saintly aura around him, and who is also capable of influencing people, influencing their life, influencing their fate, like you have seen in the playwright. We'll come to that a little later. He told this mendicant, he told her that whoever or the man who eats one of these pieces would marry her. And one day, a boy who is a distant relative of Kurdava comes to stay in their house, and quickly Kurdava, he's a young boy also, so we understand that he is younger than Kurdava. So Kurdava, what does she do? She grounds one of these pieces into paste, mixes it in with the food, and serves him. So this being a love potion, the boy fell instantly in love with her. He married her within the next 2 days and never went back to the village. Only death could detach him from this magical potion, and it was the plague that killed him. So he died due to plague. Now, so that's one thing that I want you to think about. Kurdava, she's blind. Mendicant gives her root. She serves him. This love potion falls for her. He's enslaved, and he doesn't go back to the village. So there's a lot of magic also happening here, and the mendicant is able to influence the fate of certain people who believes in him or that sage. Okay, now Kappanna comes back and he gives her these 2 pieces of root, and Kurdava hurries back to Rani, and he gives her the small root and the small root and the large piece, or the large root, because the medium sized root was already used by her to get her husband. Kurdava had used the medium sized root, so only 2 roots are now left behind, and out of which the small sized and the large size. and she has advised Rani to grind it and mix it with food and give it to Appanna, and that he would leave that concubine. She believes that the moment that is given to Appanna, he would leave the concubine and he will make Rani his wife instantly. So that's where we stopped. Now, firstly, let's understand this idea of curse. So I want to go back a little to prologue, and then we'll come to Act 1 as well. So the idea of curse. So right from the beginning, we have this idea of curse. The playwright is cursed by a mendicant for writing horrible plays, right? And this mendicant, or any mendicant, it could have been any mendicant, reappears in the subplot of Nagamandala. That is Kurdava's story. Kurdava comes across a mendicant who passes by near her house, and he is pleased with how he is being taken care of by Kurdava. She serves him food, looks after him, and then as a reward, this mendicant gives her 3 pieces of fruit, right? And what she would do is she would have to grind these pieces and mix it in the food and give it to her or whoever she wants to make a husband of. So this is exactly what she does. She takes this root, grinds it into pieces, grinds it and makes it into a paste, and mixes it in the food and gives it to her distant cousin who had come to stay with her. And he eats it. He takes one look at her, and she is made his wife instantly. And it seems he never left for his village after that. He was enslaved by her beauty, and he marries her in a flash. So you see the power of mendicants there, the power of curse, the power of mendicants in people's life. They have this power to change the course of life. Again, it is very psychological. One thing is very psychological. So we have a mendicant in the prologue cursing the playwright, warning him to stay awake for at least one day, the entire month, and then he would live. And we also have another mendicant in the subplot who comes as a savior, who helps Kurdava to get a husband. So you see how these people have the ability to change the course of their lives. Now, again, the narration of the flames also. When you look at the narration of the flames, where they spoke of the ailing mother and the old mother who's ailing and is about to die, and the whole house stank of pus and urine, and she dies the next morning, and the master with the young wife, juicy as cucumber, what they did was put out the flame, and therefore the flame could come early to their nocturnal meeting. So you see the theme simmering in these anecdotes of the flames. The sexuality is plain and simple. It simmers on the surface. So we have 2 extremes. We have a sickly person and who's ailing, who's repulsive on one hand, and you have a young, attractive female identity on the other hand. And the function, what is the function of these female? So the function of a female depends on how attractive she is for the male. Okay, so again Kurdava could not get a husband because she's blind and perhaps she was not very good looking. And only a magic potion given to her by a mendicant could help her solve this issue or problem. So theme is again, when you look at it, it's all about sexuality and about women being attractive, okay, and the function of woman in the society. What is the function? So let's come to that. Again, next, if you look at the next flame, the stingy man in the prologue, the stingy man that the flame speaks about, who does not let his wife do the shopping and he does it himself. So for practical purposes, the wife is locked indoors. Okay, and so again we get this universal world view from the flames of woman and household. And what happens there? Just if you turn to prologue for a minute and read the dialogue that flame 1 tells, the master of our house, you know what a skinflint he is. He is convinced his wife has a hole in her palm, so he buys all the groceries himself. This evening, before the dark was even an hour old, they ran out of cuspy oil. The tin of peanut oil didn't go far. The bowl of castor oil was empty anyway. So they had to retire to bed and I was permitted to leave. The ball of castor oil was empty anyway. So they had to retire to bed early and I was permitted to leave. Laughter. So I did tell you this. I did tell you that in a way Karnad is trying to indirectly suggest the hierarchy of that is inherent in the Indian social system, and also if you try to read between the lines you will understand that there's something else to this, something more to it. So they had to retire to bed early and I was permitted to come here. Laughter. So what happens through this laughter? What is that laughter about? Just try to read between the lines and you will understand. And if you look at the dialogues of the flames also, you will understand what they are actually hinting at. So while they are laughing, something is going on in the dark on the bed. So the wife who stays indoor has perhaps this function alone to perform at the point of at that point of time, that is night. And if you look at the dialogues of the flames also, which are very interesting anecdotes, you get a clearer picture of sexuality. So the lights are put out. Look at what flame 3 has to say. My master's eyes have to feast on his wife limb by limb if the rest of him is to react. So we lambs have to bear witness to what is better left to the dark. They all talk animatedly. So it gets worse and worse. The narrative of sexuality and the function of women are clearly portrayed here. It expresses, or Karnad gives a stark detail of in these sections. Okay, so according to Karnad, the tales told in this play, the theme is a predominant theme. I'm not saying the whole thing. A predominant theme is sexuality. Okay, we'll analyze the theme further in the next few videos. So thank you and keep safe.